Okay. Well, welcome to the Cash Offer Mastermind today on Tuesday. And I welcome everybody who has joined us. We're going to continue our series on the tactical empathy from The Full Fee Agent, the book by Chris Voss and Steve Scholl. We are now on chapter 3, where the topic will be selling trust mastery. Seller trust mastery. And the whole point of this is building connections via trust to have a better relationship with your seller. And that's the whole premise of this. So, seller trust mastery. Today, what we'll cover is trust building techniques that justify your full fee. And it isn't just about your commission, it is about building that relationship that's going to have a smoother transaction than if you didn't have the trust, and dealing with the issues that come up during a transaction, because let's face it, every transaction has issues. You have problems that pop up. You have, different things, especially when it comes to the inspection. The buyer could be asking for a lot of repairs. Sometimes they don't ask for any repairs, but a lot of times they ask for something. So you're going back to the negotiating table. And if you don't have that trust built up from the beginning, those conversations can be extremely difficult. Communication skills that create instant rapport. So we'll learn some techniques on how to, when you sit down at the table with that seller during the listing presentation, you'll be able to build trust right away with the things that you ask them and that you can build on. Methods to position yourself as an advisor, not a salesperson. Let me ask you, how many of you want to be sold? None of us really want to be sold. We want to be enticed. That's the reason for all the marketing that is out there to, and if you pay attention to the marketing that is out there, they play on your emotions. I just saw a new commercial from Coca-Cola this morning, and they totally played on the pride of America, Midwest values, family, and all of that, so to sell their product. So that was interesting, um, that they changed their whole approach on their product and their advertising. But then again, it played on emotions, and that's something that we want to do. So we want to build. We want to become a partner. We want to position ourselves as a trusted advisor, not just an agent. Realtors have a bad reputation, unfortunately, as used car salesmen. You just want to sell that car. And we, in the past, with the training that we've had, basically is the same thing. Is, we're taught to sell, sell, sell. I will never forget one of my brokers telling me that if you need more money, go out and sell something. Go out, sell more and more. And I'm like, I'm only capable of doing this amount. I have a family. At that time, my son was young, and it was like, I only have enough hours in the day. What am I supposed to do? Neglect him? No, I'm not going to do that. So there had to be a better way to do that. And at the time, it was teams, building teams. But you can only do that in certain brokerages because of the way the commission structure worked with your broker. So that's another topic altogether. But we want to position ourselves as that trusted advisor. Trust, we want to create authentic connections through empathy and understanding. So we may be talking to a seller that is in a desperate situation. We talked about the pre-foreclosures before. They're about to lose their home. They're in a tight spot. And we need to come to them with compassion and understanding. And that's where the empathy comes in. Not necessarily sympathy, but you empathize with them. Um, you understand that this was your home, this was your dream, this is the largest investment that you'll ever have. But unfortunately, life events have caused a situation where you find yourself in this situation. You're about to lose your home, and it can be very emotional for if you're speaking to a married couple. Usually the wife is the one that's more emotional than the husband. And I can tell you in my case, because we we lost our home. Our home went into foreclosure in 2006, which was beginning of the housing crisis. And even though I was a realtor, I got very emotional over it. That was the house that my son took his first steps. That was going to be our home for our lifetime. And um, it was hard. My husband kept saying, we need to put it on the market. We need to put it on the market. And I said, no, something's going to happen. We're going to be able to get out of this and blah, 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 blah. Well, we ended up selling and we lost 100,000 by waiting by mistake. Um, yeah, it just wasn't a good situation. But you have to, when you're approaching these clients, you need to use that empathy and understanding. And that's what trust does. And then you relationships, you're prioritizing genuine connections before discussing strategy. So, and I know I've been guilty of it. I'll go to a listing appointment, and before I really get to know them, I'll ask them a few questions, but about, why they want to sell, what's, happening about them, their family, so on and so forth. But it wasn't really deep. And then I would dive into my listing presentation. And I got good at getting people to sign over time, but in the beginning, I lost more than I gained. So relationships come first, everything else follows. When sellers feel genuinely understood, they're ready to hear your expertise. So, we need to keep that in mind. So, why trust beats tactics? For years and all in coaching and all of that, we're taught tactics. We're taught how to overcome objections, what to say when they want to overprice, what to say when they don't want to stage a home, what to say when they don't want to have any showings um, after a certain time or before a certain time. And I had been dealing with this one of the listings that I had on the market is because of his wife and her health situation. He didn't want any showings till after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That wasn't going to work. Not at all. And then he didn't want the open house until after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, well, you're going to be missing out on a lot of potential buyers coming through. And you just have to, I had to really work around that. So, one of the things that we need to remember is people are not packages. Sellers hire individuals they connect with, not just marketing plans. So, when you're not connecting with your seller from the beginning and you just dive into that marketing plan, you're no different than the next agent coming to the appointment that they're going to meet with to do their due diligence. Remember last week, are you the favorite or are you the fool? And it taught us how to recognize the tire kickers, basically. But before we go into that appointment, we want to set ourselves up to be the favorite. Even if we're at the full part at that time and they have somebody else that they're in mind that they have in mind that they want to go with, And we're just there for due diligence. If we set ourselves up as a trusted advisor, if for some reason the home doesn't sell with that other agent, hopefully we set ourselves up enough that they will call us to come and help them sell their home. Heart before head. People are emotional beings. They mostly make decisions on emotion, not logic. So we got to keep that in mind when we're in front of somebody, is we need to get to the emotions. We need to get to their fears, um, and what they're excited about and their goals. And we need to dig down and get those answers before we move on. Partnership premium is a strategy without rapport makes you a commodity. So that goes back to that package. You're no different than the next listing agent that is going to come in and share their marketing plan, which is going to be very similar to yours, because it's not rocket science. Marketing is not rocket science. You may have a different tactic like we do with the online offers plan, but um, pretty much it's all the same. So rapport builds plus strategy makes you a partner. So we involve them in making these decisions. We're not telling them what to do. We're advising them. So if you put your market on now, you have a greater chance of capturing a buyer pool because school's out, people want to move before school starts. If you wait till the end of the summer, you're going to miss out on that family that is looking to move, who wanted to be in a new home before school starts. Something like that. So even the best marketing plan falls flat without personal connection. Trust open doors that tactics alone cannot. Any questions so far? No, we're good. Okay. So there's a two-layer decision-making model. Emotion and trust. The seller needs safety, empathy, and respect. So we need to understand them. We need to let them know that they're in a safe space with us, that they can freely talk about what's going on. I know of a lot of sellers that don't want to tell you everything. One, they're either embarrassed or that's just how they're taught in dealing with business. And we get that from a lot of different nationalities on how they do business. Our job then is to build the authentic connection first, to really build that trusted advisor position, that I'm here to help you and advise you on what to do. Ultimately, the decision's yours, not mine. And that's what I tell buyers too, is on the buyer side, when I'm showing property, it's say, look, I'm not the one that is going to be living in this property. You are. Your likes are not like my likes. We need to have an open conversation, whether you like this or don't like this, that I can know what you're looking for, but you're the one that ultimately has to make the decision because you're the one that's going to live in the home. So there I'm being the advisor. And when certain things pop up in showing, I will point it out. I'll point out the negative. Did you see that stain on the roof, on the ceiling? Did you see the hole in the door? That type of things. Logic and strategy, facts, process, ROI. So after we build that rapport, then we can give them the facts. We can tell them how things are going to go and the return on their investment, not ours. So we're still not talking about compensation. Compensation's not in the picture. And then we present solutions after the trust is learned. So the sequence matters. We need to build that trust, which opens the door for strategy. And I like the way they put this. Trust opens the door, strategy furnishes the room. Okay. And so this is how we start the steps of building trust. So, first of all, we, as the agent, need to detach, let go of our outcome. Do I get this listing? It doesn't matter. We're going in there as the trusted advisor. We're building trust. If we get the listing, great, it's a win. If we don't get the listing, it was a practice and we get to move on to the next one. And that's the way we need to look at it. I know that when you're in a situation, and I've been there throughout my career, is our sellers can feel when we're desperate for a listing, we're desperate for a client, we're desperate for money. It's called commission breath. And we don't want that. We got to put it aside, however hard it is, and and build that trust with them. So it's really hard to detach from that outcome, but we need to. And I know, Howard, we were talking before about hoping to get, a client, a buyer, and it's slow going as a new agent, and it will happen. You just need to be consistent and putting in the due diligence every single day, and things will start popping. And it's like you're doing the motions, you're doing what you need to do every single day. You're making those conversations, you're getting those appointments, and then all of a sudden things start popping up. You'll get a client that wasn't even through the actions that you were doing. It came from out of the blue. That's how the universe works. you know, um, the Bible says God blesses the work of your hands.
Mm.
So you never know where it's going to come from.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Excuse me. So detach yourself from the outcome. And then when you're sitting in front of that client, proactively listening, give 100% of your attention to them. I suggest shutting this off, your phone, when it disappears into the oblivion, silence it. If you have a briefcase, put it in the briefcase. Don't even have it there to look at. Because I'll tell you, it's hard when you have kids and not to look at your phone. Something may have happened, you're being called by the school or anything like that. Now that I'm a Navy mom, it's like that phone is attached to me wherever I go, ever, including the bathroom. It's in the bathroom. So if he's deployed and he gets a chance to call, I'm not missing that phone call. I even tell my clients that I'm a Navy mom. My son's deployed. If I get a phone call, um, I have to take it because this is maybe the only chance for a couple weeks or a month that I'll get to talk to him. So, yeah. But in between that, be a good listener. No interruptions, just your presence. And people can feel that you're thinking about something else. Oh, excuse me. That you're thinking of something else and not paying attention to them. And it goes back to labeling and mirroring. Reflect their feelings until they confirm with an exactly. This signals that you're in an emotional alignment with them. So I understand that this move is huge for you. You've lived in this house for a long time and it's pretty emotional. Those type of things. I understand that your the repairs are overwhelming. You label and you mirror their negative thoughts, their negative um, reactions, stuff like that, and the things that they say. And then collaborate, work together on a strategy. We have here we have some options here for you. We have a cash offer here that you can move on your own timeline, no showings. The the downsides to the cash offer is there is an additional fee for the convenience. Then you have a cash plus with repairs, where you become in partners with the buyer. The buyer will go in and front the money to do the repairs. And then when the property is relisted, if it sells for more, so if it sells for $25,000 more than what they purchased it for, then you'll get that $25,000 back. The buyer will not keep it, they'll give it to you. So those are the benefits of that. By listing the property, putting it on the open market, the downside is you're going to have showings. You got to keep the home clean. In a traditional sale, you never know at the last minute, an agent can call and say, hey, they're outside. Is it okay to come in and see the property? You got to be ready all the time. So there's the downsides to that. Then there's the online offers program where you only have showings during the open house. And it's transparent offers. The buyers can see each other's offers, and it creates a bidding war, and you can win with that. So, those are your options. Which one sounds good to you? What would benefit you? And then you can dive in deeper to that. So, tool number one, proactive listening. Silence all your devices, mirror their words, label their emotions. Sounds like you're anxious about timing. So you want to be in Arizona next fall. Confirm understanding. Summarize until they confirm you've captured their concerns. So we don't start going into tactics until we they confirm that we understand them. Make sense? Any questions? Nope.
No, no questions. Makes sense.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Tool number two, focused on comparison. So like I did with the cash offer, the traditional listing, and the online offers, was a comparison. They get to choose because it doesn't matter to me how they sell their home, but it does matter to them how they sell their home. So highlight the hidden risks. People fear loss more than they chase gain. Help them spot the risks they haven't considered. So here's a situation. You come up with a seller that he wants to work with you. You've been building this rapport over time. He trusts you at this point, and he wants to list his home at 1.5 million. But the market and the CMA says that it's 1.2 million. So there's a $300,000 difference there. So to build that rapport, you've already built the rapport. He trusts you, so you got to focus on the comparison. And I have this great tool here, is on price. So market value is 1.2 million. So we're looking at buyer pools with pricing, because pricing is a marketing tool. So if we price it at market value, you're looking at 60% of the buyers. 60% of the buyers will have eyes on your property. If you price it above, which it sounds like you're pricing it, 10, 15% above. So at 10%, you've lost half of the buyer pool from the market value. If you price it above that, then you're at 10%. You're at a very small percentage. So, Mr. Seller, what would you like to do? And then they choose. Present the options like we just did. So with that grid and with the cash offers. And both Zudilio and iList have a great comparison tool when you're presenting those offers. So it's side by side. You can put, if you list with me, if you take one of these buyer cash offer options. And it also shows you the net. So they know exactly what they're going to get and what it's going to cost them after closing costs. And we're to remain the guide. Remember, we're the trusted advisor. We're not a salesperson. I started calling myself a customer service representative years ago. I'm not a salesperson. I just help people. It's these are huge decisions for most homeowners and home buyers. This is their largest investment ever, and probably going to be their only investment ever. So, just like a financial advisor, we advise them, we show them their options and let them choose. Let them weigh options while you provide context and clarity. Avoid pushing your preferred solution. So we got, again, take out the outcome. It doesn't matter. The cash offer, you get paid quicker. Who cares? It's about your client. It's not about me, it's about my client. And you go on from there. Any questions? Okay. So we release the attachment. We let go of our desired outcome. We don't want them to feel that we're pressuring them because we're desperate. We need that sale. We need that transaction. We got to let that go. And it takes practice to do that. And then we need to pursue understanding. So it's building that rapport. We need to understand them, ask them questions. We need to understand their situation. Paradoxically, detachment often leads to better outcomes for everyone. And then we create clarity, help them see their options in a new perspective and insight. So here's the trust-led consultation opening. It starts with success vision. Tell me what success looks like for you in the next 6 months from now. We're focusing on their goals. Their goals may be sooner than that. How soon do you want to move? What is your timeline? That type of thing. Acknowledge their vision. We're settled in Arizona, household stress-free. So they want to see that everything's completed in 6 months. I got a phone call from a prospective seller yesterday that I have been talking to for almost 2 years now. And he says, I have to be out of this house by the end of the month. I'm like, great. I understand. And I've already built the rapport with him. So I understood where he's coming from. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to do that, we need to put the home on the market now. He goes, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm like, okay, when are you going to be ready for that? Well, I'm trying to get a hold of a house cleaner who was recommended to me to come in and clean, and then we would be ready for photos. And I'm like, okay, great. Call me when it's scheduled and we'll set up the photos, we'll get everything signed and we'll move on. But it's their timeline, not mine. Would I like him to list now? Yes. But I told him the only way you're going to be out of that house, hopefully, is if you list now. The end of the month, this is the beginning of the month. And most likely you're not. It's not going to close because it's going to take 2 weeks to market the property and get the buyers in. for you to even get an offer. We're looking at an offer 3 weeks from now. So you're looking at the end of July, possibly, but not at the end of the June. So you gotta lay it out that way. Um, Explore their concerns. Got it. What concerns you most about getting there? And a lot of times you'll learn what comes up, and it's about their home selling and not finding another home. And this situation would be a big concern. And then you can reassure them your home will not close until you close on the other one. So you're going to be concurrent closings. And you don't have to be out the same day as you're closing. We can ask the buyer for 3 to 5 days after closing for you to move into your new home. Things happen, and possibly a small rent back. There are solutions. But if you notice here, there was no mention of commission or days on market. It focused entirely on their journey and concerns before discussing your services. So, trust metrics to track. 3+, exactly. Moments. Count confirmations per consultation and a signal true understanding. 3 or more times, basically, is when you confirm that they get that you're understanding. Response rate 100%. Measure text calls returns within 24 hours. 90% referral promises. Track pre-closing statements like, I can't wait to refer you. We all want to hear that. I will definitely refer you. I can't wait to refer you. Trust isn't just a feeling, it's measurable. These metrics help you quantify, and improve your trust building skills over time. We're not used to talking like this. We're not used to having these conversations. Our society today is so private. We don't, it used to be when growing up that when our parents came home from work, my dad came home from work, he would talk to a neighbor. Now, people just drive into their garage, close the door, and go into the house. They don't talk to anybody. We've gotten so private and we don't have these conversations. So now we're starting to have these conversations and getting to know people. And it's different for us today. So the key takeaways and call to action. Connection precedes persuasion. We're not persuading anybody to work with us. We want to connect with them so they want to work with us. There's the difference. Then that relationship is feeling like a mutual partnership and not that I hired you and I expect you to do the job and this went wrong, so you're at fault. We don't want that. We want where a problem arises, let's collaborate and see how we can fix it. Listen, detach to listen. Shut your phone off, put it away, don't look at it, don't think about anything else but what they're saying to you. Illuminate risk, not fees. So we want to give them the pros and cons. If you wait, Mr. Seller, you're going to miss out on a buyer pool. If you price too high, Mr. Seller, you're going to miss out on a buyer pool. And then apply these techniques in your next seller meeting and share results in the next meeting. And here are the resources, the downloads, meet with me, and the full fee agent book. Any questions?
No, I was just gonna say about how we talk to people nowadays. I guess you answered it already. If you guys actually did that when you first started, in real estate and everything, it was probably a different conversation, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When I started in real estate 32 years ago, I was handed the listing agreement and the purchase agreement, which were mostly fill in. The listing agreement was 2 pages, the purchase agreement was 3 pages, and the white pages phone book. And I was told to read these, read the contracts, and start calling people and asking them if they wanted to sell. That
Right.
was my training. There was nothing like this.
Hmm.
And I floundered in my career for a good 5 years. And my husband kept telling me, he goes, you need to go get a real job. We need the income. You need to go get a real job because I wasn't making it. I think the first 3 years I was a broker's assistant. But then when I went out on my own in 1995, it wasn't so 95, 96, I only made $10,000.
Wow.
So I made nothing. And it wasn't until I switched brokerages and um, my broker, she took me under her wing and she's the one that told me that what you do today will be a paycheck 4 months from now, 4 to 6 months from now. Um, and she taught me how to get the business and how to talk to people because I wasn't taught that. And one of the brokers that I worked with in the beginning, he was a hammer. He was a Mike Ferry type. And he didn't build relationships. Through the transaction, he destroyed them.
No kidding.
It was bad.
Wow.
It was really bad. It's like, I don't want to be that kind of agent. And then how I ended up working for them, I actually um, started working with the top producer in their office. I got my license to get back into property management because I had been in property management before. And the company I interviewed with, they said that they had just hired somebody. I'm
Hmm.
like, why did you interview me?
Yeah, right.
If you just hired somebody, why did you interview me? But they said that we would have hired you if you were before that person, but one of our clients is looking for an assistant. Are you interested? I'm like, sure,
Hmm.
I'll meet with her. She told me she was a workaholic. And at that time, homes were selling barely over 100,000.
Hmm.
Um, and she was a $300,000 producer. She
Hmm.
made she $300,000 in commissions. And she told me, she goes, "You'll never make it. You're not willing to give up your time."
Oh man.
And the broker there, she one of the brokers, there were two brokers that were partners in that office. She saw how miserable I was. And I happened to go to high school with her daughter.
Hmm.
So she was a motherly type. She was great. I learned a little bit from her. But she offered me to be the assistant for her and the other guy, the other partner, the hammer.
You're the
So
hammer. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's a good story. It really is.
so I didn't have good training in the beginning, and it matters to new agents. It matters a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Before I came to EXP, because I got with EXP, what, January, February, I think. And the broker I was with before, yeah, they didn't just provide the training. I've learned more in the last 3 months from all of you guys at EXP than I don't think I'd even be where I'm at today with the other broker, not even close.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, it says a lot. Maybe because of the area I'm in too, because I'm in the high desert, so it's a little
Mhm.
smaller and maybe not as many, icon agents, but
That shouldn't matter.
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm new, so I'm just trying to figure everything out. But yeah,
Right.
I've learned quite a bit just in the past 3 months. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
good. I'm glad. So we're doing something right.
yeah, yeah, that's why I try to get on as much as I can.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Howard, thank you for joining me today,
Yeah, thanks for having it.
and we'll be next week and we'll do chapter 4.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right,
Have
have a good one.
you too.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.